So and it's a great experience because you sit in a variety of different assignments, and you get an opportunity to hear a different type of cases.
And then I would think too, unlike some people that may go to probate and stay there for 10, 15 years or something, that you have to really kind of stay on top of, as we would say on the street, stay on top of your game,
right,
as far as being knowledgeable about the laws that's applicable to the type of cases that you're listening to.
Right, and you have to really become a student of the law,
right,
because you're exactly right. From one day to the next, you may be, sitting in a civil courtroom, and then the next day you have to go over and do a misdemeanor call, or you have to do a felony call. So you have to stay on top of your game. You have to stay fresh with regards to the law in a variety of different areas that you might be assigned to. And then that part of it I already found fascinating, because from one day to the next, sometimes you didn't know where you were going to be at,
right,
and so then you'd have to start doing some crash studying with regards, right, to some of the particulars,
right,
of the assignments that you were in.
So now I noticed, I think I first met you maybe in the year 2006 or 2008. Weren't you running for something in 08 or 10?
In 08, I ran for what's known as the full circuit spot, the circuit court spot, and I was successful in my election. So I ran a county-wide race, right, and it was an opportunity to become a full circuit judge. Full circuit judges, as I mentioned, one of the things that they do is they elect the associate judges.
Right.
So I got an opportunity to do that.
So that was a step up.
Right.
It was a step up. You had a track record. So now, prior to you becoming a judge, at the onset, what type of law did you study, and where did you go to law school? I
went to John Marshall Law School,
okay,
which is in the near south side of the Loop. It's a great location for a law student because it's right there by the federal court. It's right there by the Daly Center. And from John Marshall, I went into private practice. I was with a firm doing personal injury and workers' comp on the plaintiff side, so I was representing the injured, okay, workers. And then I went over to the Corporation Counsel's office, and I tried cases there in the torts division, both in state and federal court. And I was in what was known then as the Special Litigation Division, so I represented the city in multi-million-dollar lawsuits, and it was a great place to to learn. I got a lot of experience, and I enjoyed the trial work, the jury trial work. Then the opportunity came along to go to the Board of Education. And I was working at the Board of Education before I went on the bench. And one of the things that I found fascinating about working at the Board of Ed is that, many times as a lawyer, you're working on a case, and sometimes you don't see the conclusion of it for years, because right, you're working on it, and then it goes on appeal, and then finally you might see the end result. But at the board, doing policy and reforms, we would work on initiatives, and then you would see how it affected children and how it affected the community, okay, how they benefited from that. So for me, that was rather satisfying to be doing that type of work.
Yeah, with CPS. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. And then I noticed that you decided to while on the bench, getting active in various organizations, like being the past president of the Illinois Judges Association, yes, on more than one occasion.
Right. I was president of the Judges Association, and that is an honor that I was very humbled by, because it's the judges throughout the state, right, that select you to run the organization. And one of the things that I have always been is a community-minded individual. And so we started a lot of community initiatives. One of the things that we worked on and we had throughout the state was a poster recognizing all the judges who were active and retired that had served their country. We called it, Defenders of Freedom. And the reason we thought that was important is because we wanted people to realize that the people who sit on the bench, both actively and those that are retired, and also one time wore the uniform of their country. And these were both men and women. And we did it all the way going back from World War II to the present. And we had these posters, out in the courthouses in the Supreme Court, okay, here in Chicago, and then also in Springfield. One of the other initiatives that we worked on when I was president was a book drive. And as a result of the book drive, we created these family reading nights where not only would we give the books away, but we'd have the families come in to the school, and we would encourage the parents to read with, along, or to their children, and we emphasize the importance of reading. So, those were some of the programs that we did statewide that, that I was very proud of. And we did a lot of educational things for the children, as well as a DVD with regards to Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people don't realize that before he became president, he was a lawyer.
Right.
He was a practicing lawyer for 25 years. And the thing that I really admired about him was that he was a lawyer who distinguished himself with integrity and character. And we put this in a DVD for the young people, for them to realize that, he overcame a lot of obstacles. He came from a poor background. He had to work his way up. But he overcame all these obstacles, and he became president of the United States. So we put this in a DVD for them to realize that, you could play the game. You play it by the rules, you play it honestly, you do it with integrity and with character, and maybe one day you could be like like Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
So those were some of the things that we did. And then also, when I was president of the Illinois Judges Foundation, we started a program called Second Chances, which I was very proud of. Second Chances is a program where we go into, for example, Cook County Jail. There's a high school there for young offenders. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure that they realized was that, okay, they have to pay their debt to society, but there's no reason why they, after they do that, cannot go out and become productive members of society. And we cited examples like Judge Mathis, for example. State Senator Alan Simpson, he was a youthful offender also. Actor Charles Durning was also a youthful offender, and they served their time, they did what they had to do, but when they came out, they became, very productive members of society. So, we, along with some lawyers, have been going into the high school at the Cook County Jail and talking to the young inmates and encouraging them to do that. And recently, I had the opportunity to speak at one of their graduations. And, and that was very heartwarming, because in the book, they put a little information about themselves, and then also their dreams, their future dreams. And a lot of people don't realize that, they have aspirations just like everybody else, I mean, they want to become, rock stars. They want to become, nurses. They want to, become business people. And I think that's very encouraging. For them to be able to have something to hold on to and say, this is what I want to do when I get out.
Yeah,
I was very proud of that program.
But I noticed, on your business card, you had these other associations that you were, the assembly mentor. What kind of program is that? Is that for?
For the judges. I also served as a mentor for the judges. So when a new judge comes on, the Supreme Court has a program, and it's called the mentor-mentee program. And so a more experienced judge takes on a less experienced judge and becomes the judge's mentor, and then guides the new judge along in various manners in terms of ethics, or also how to maybe run a court call, how to conduct themselves. For many people, all of a sudden now they're faced with the responsibility of not only ruling on matters, but they have to become administrators of a courtroom. And how do you do that? How do you efficiently run a courtroom? Keep in mind that people have to take lunch. People need a break sometimes. Sometimes you need to have a little time out, in the sense that when things get a little heated, you got to know when to say, okay, the court's going to take a recess, and then and let the parties kind of cool off a little bit. And someone who's been there, someone who's had that experience, can at least guide those new judges along. So I've been doing that since 2000. The Supreme Court has appointed me repeatedly to serve as a mentor.
You talked about courtroom management, and sometimes people get a little taken back, like the lawyers get special privilege, but when it comes to courtroom management, sometimes attorneys have other cases in the same building or other places. So when it comes to courtroom management, how How do those cases kind of line up? I noticed that some cases it's going to require a lot of time to kind of push back so they can be given the sufficient time, and then the people that's going to plead guilty, like in traffic,
right?
You know, you corral all them together and you tell them what they need to do. And how does that kind of work?
Yeah, and it depends on where you're at, what assignment you have. But like you mentioned, traffic court, for example, if you have traffic court and you have agreed orders, that means the parties have come to an agreement. Then you'll take those because they're agreed. So then those will be disposed of very quickly. People who are pleading guilty, you'll take those as well. You know, as you're doing this, though, you want to make sure that everybody understands, you know, what they're doing and the consequences of doing it. So even when someone pleads guilty to a traffic matter, you want to make sure you take the time to say this, you understand that if you do this, if it's a supervision, whatever it is, this is the time period, whatever, and these are going to be the fines. And then also, then you move on till you get to the trials. Then you find out which trials are ready to go, and then the ones that are ready to go, and then those are the ones you hear. And you tend to hold those to the end, because you want to make sure that no one else is just sitting there where they could have been going somewhere else, or they could be going on. And I think moving a courtroom along as quickly as possible, yet making sure that everybody has their day in court. I'm a firm believer. It doesn't matter who's in front of me, whether it's someone just representing themselves or it's an attorney from a silk shirt firm. Everybody gets their day in court. They get to say whatever it is that they want to say, and then at least this way they feel they had their day in court. Whatever happens or whatever the ruling is, at least they feel that they had an opportunity to address the court to be heard, because that's what people really want, is they want to be heard.